Alright, and we're out here making all the videos I wish I had made 10 years ago, but would not have known how to. So we're going to continue with our theme, capturing corner starters. So here, this time Blue's hand is based on 6-5-1-5 type cards. I have a lot of fun personally with these cards. They're obviously very good at plus walling 6s, but they can also set each other up to be good at capturing 7s with the 6-5 part, and can sometimes be a little tricky for 7-based hands to play against, because cards like 7-6-2-3s have limited ability to interact with 5s. So I find these hands fun. I don't think they're the most powerful cards available on levels, 3 and 4, but I think they're not miles behind, and they can be fun to mess around with. So anyhow, Blue can capture the starter two ways, and my question for you is either one good? So again, stop here, come up with a plan for Blue. If no plan suffices, you obviously do not have to take their starter. There are many other moves, and I hope to go through lots of them, but it's worth comparing plans. And so looking at what are my moves in 2 and 4, and what's my plan. So we want to know how would you capture the starter, and what your follow-up move is when they recapture their starter. So consider your plans, decide which is best, and if any of them are good, because obviously you do not have to capture their starter. So pause now if you'd like to think about that. Alright, in the last video I made a mistake, and in a similar situation where Blue captured the starter, Red captured back and comboed, I didn't list the score properly, and I didn't flip the card in 4 in that situation. So apologies for that, good call turds. But here I have done it correctly. It didn't actually affect the variations at all, which is kind of telling, because it means if you capture their starter, you don't actually care that much if they combo back, because your important setup move is going to be in 3 or 7, and that will likely be capturing, if needed, the card in 2 or 4 anyway. So anyway, what do we know here? Well, we know 5 is likely to suck, and indeed all moves in 5 are just terrible here. For instance, after 6-5-1-5 in 5, both 6-7-2-3 and 7 and 3-2-7-6 and 3 are just easily winning for Red. There's nothing there. We'd expect of those moves after we go in 5, we'd expect the move in 7 to be a little better for Red, because it leaves Cactuar to be better, but both work. This is just, don't play in 5. We know this. So the best chance to tie or put pressure on Red is going to be in 3 or 7. And given that Red used their horizontal rather than their vertical, so they have more up-down power left, we would expect the better move to be in 7. But Triple Triad is an insanely complex game, and here the better move is in 3 for somewhat obtuse reasons. Which is, if we played 5-6-5-1 and 7, they could play 6-7-2-3 and 8, and it would be completely safe to our board, and really hard for us to deal with. And I think the first obvious question here is, okay, so if that safe move is so good for them, if we played 1-5-6-5 and 3, how come they can't play 3-2-7-6 and 6? Isn't that completely safe too? And the answer is yes, it is. Good point. But in that position, Red 6-2-6-3 doesn't play very well, while in the other one it does. So normally we play in 7 rather than 7 rather than 3 here, because 7 is going to play better against their 6-2-6-3. But in this exact circumstance where there are weird safe plays in 6 and 8, it turns out that move actually sets up the 6-2-6-3 to play better, and it ends up being worse, and Triple Triad is just an incredibly difficult game, and there aren't going to be, simple rules that carry us to the best moves. So it turns out here 1-5-6-5 happens to be better, but this is incredibly hard to find unless you have like 20 minutes on your clock to think about the position. So usually 7 is the better move. And even though 1-5-6-5 and 3 ties, Blue's path with that move is quite difficult. It's not like a trivial tie. So after 1-5-6-5 and 3, we saw last time that one reason not to go in 5 for Red is if Blue has a really nice move in 7 that both secures the card in 4 and is safe going out. And here that's the case. If Red goes in 5, Blue can play 5-6-5-1 and 7, which secures 4, and Red's not going to be able to take that from 8. So here is one of those positions. Red can also, of course, look at moves in 6, and I believe the move in 6 is fine here, but I think the most pressuring move is going to be attempts in 7. because 6 leaves the 3-2, playing Cactuar in 6 leaves the 3-2-7-6 in red's hand, which isn't going to play very well at the finish. The 6-7-2-3 will play very well. So, that's my next diagram, sorry. Yeah, so 6-7-2-3 and 7, I think, is a pretty tough move to meet. And for instance, 5-1-5-6 in 5, the one of the captures available there, loses to 6-2-6-3 and 6. And 6-5-1-5 and 5, the other capture, loses to 6-2-6-3 and 8, which is a pretty cool move because it sets up the upward 3 to be able to plus any 5 facing down from 6. And so both moves in 5 here for blue lose, which generally doesn't mean blue's lost. I think blue can save this one, but it does mean that this is going to be a pretty tough position. And I think we should expect it to be a tough position because when blue played in 4 to start the whole sequence, when blue captured red's starter, they did so with a weak value facing 5, and that's just going to make it easy for red to have access to 5 whenever they want it and to have options there. And with a low number facing 5, we really need a good follow-up. And I don't think blue's is quite good enough here. For instance, red threatens to take it in 6. It gives red lots of options. It's okay. Instead of 3, let's look at 7. Now, I did say that this loses to 6-7-2-3 and 8, but that is a very odd move. Let's look at the more kind of traditional plays here. And from a plan perspective, I think this is quite a good move. It can't be taken from 8. So we know red's now going to be looking at 5 and 3 for moves. If we look at what options red has in 5, the only one they have that takes 4 is 3-2-7-6, and blue has set up a plus against that move, so that's kind of out of the question. And so red is forced to play in 3, and in situations where red's forced to play in 3, blue's often doing all right. And so here, I think this was a decent plan. If you looked at the starting position, you said my plan is 6-3-6-3, followed by 5-6-5-1 and 7. I think that's a pretty good plan, and most likely going to get a tie, and the move it loses to here is a very obscure move. So if you pick this, I think that's a solid answer. This is an okay plan that happens not to work. A good plan that happens not to work. But okay plan, because the second move, 5-6-5-1 and 7, is quite pleasant, but 6-3-6-3 really just gives red a lot of options in 5, and I think that means, I guess only one option, but just such low number facing 5 often signifies this is a bad way to capture, and so, yeah, an okay plan. Has some strengths, has some faults. So let's go on to the other way to capture their starter in 1. This time with 1-5-6-5, which flips and looks much funnier, and 6-2-6-3 and 4 is red's recapturing reply, and we have our normal position, and the question is, do we have a follow-up? Again, I ask, what do we know? And we know, don't go in 5, that's always going to lose. And the best moves are likely to be 5-6-5-1 and 7, or 5-1-5-6 and 3. Cards that capture the side next to them, have decent outfacing value, and we know 3 and 7 are generally the squares to play in. And both moves have some appeal, because the main question for either move should be, does it set up anything against red's play in 5? And red is most likely going to be playing their plus, 2-6-3-6 in 5, and both actually set up against that. 5-6-5-1 and 7 sets up a plus with 6-3-6-3 and 8, while on the other hand, 5-1-5-6 sets up a plus with 6-5-1-5 and 6 against 2-6-3-6 and 5. So they both set up counter combos against 5, but in general, it's worrying red has a combo in 5 at all, because we know blue never goes 5 here, and that means red has the first turn where it's reasonable to go in 5. And therefore, because red has first access to 5, and 5 is such a critical square, blue really needs to have better moves in 5 than red does. They really need red to not have good moves in 5 and to have pretty good moves themselves. And in this situation, red has a plus in 5 and blue doesn't. So it's already a sign this is going to be fairly tough to save, because red just has better control of the key square, better moves for the key square. And we're going to have to really set up well against that. And because it's a plus, they can flip the card in 2 without us being able to fully combo back. So this is worrying. Red in this line has a higher outfacing value towards 5, but it is one that's blue does. when they play in 2, capturing the starter in 1, but red explicitly has a good reply in 5, and that makes it trouble. And blue can survive here, but it's going to take good play to do it. And so the next question is blue's best move in 3 or 7? Usually we just do it based on whether the opponent is better up or down or side to side. Here they are better side to side, so we generally want to go up and down. And I think overall, this was blue's best plan from the starting position. We have a decent value facing down from 2, which limits red's options. We have a decent number facing down from 6. We have some control of 5 in that if they play in 5 and take 2, we can combo back here. Now we don't combo back fully, as I said. They will secure 2. But it does turn out here that 2, 6, 3, 6, and 5 is met by 6, 5, 1, 5, and 6. And that takes just enough for blue to manage a tie here. So I think overall, this is probably the best plan from the starting position, but it's just not very appealing, because if red has better moves in 5, blue is going to be in trouble. So let's look at 7 now as an alternative to playing in 3. Oh, nope, let's not. Yeah, so new game, new opposing hand. Yeah, 3 made more sense than 7. Don't know what I was talking about. So this is just going to be a quick example of something different than I've talked about. You might look at blue's hand and think, wow, that hand is garbage. And I would basically agree with you. But it will illustrate a point I'd like to make on this position, which is that after blue takes, red has a better option, I think, than recapturing the starter. And the key point is blue is so completely terrible going up and down that we just want to direct the game as vertically as we can. And so I think here 3, 2, 7, 6, and 3 is a really strong move because blue is just so awful going up. And while that's not a common thing, we want to be recapturing 90% plus of the time, But I think in a spot like this, it is very reasonable to look at 3, and the best move is probably in 3 here rather than 4, because blue just is so bad going up, and the more we can direct the game that way, the worse shape they'll be in. And I do think overall, players that like to play in 3 in these positions, we're doing so far too often. It makes me think of, in Texas Hold'em, having pocket kings, where there is some percentage of the time where the correct play, if you could see their hand, is to fold pocket kings because they've just gone all in with pocket aces. But if you look at players that do like to fold pocket kings in those kind of spots, a lot of the time they're actually folding to opposing pocket kings or pocket queens or ace king or various other situations, small percentages of the time. And players that fold pocket kings are often losing value overall, even if they correctly fold to pocket aces every time. And even if I, a different player, never correctly fold to pocket aces, I'm also making correctly staying in all those other spots. And overall, I might have higher equity. Of course, someone who could correctly fold some of the time to pocket aces and not fold as much to other hands would do better than either of us. But as a player who's not particularly good and who's not going to be making great reads, it is better for me, I will win more if I always stay in with pocket kings pre-flop. And here, I think there's kind of a similar-ish thing. There are players who like to go in 3 in these positions, and most of those players went in 3 way too often and would have been better served by going in 4 in these types of positions every single time. But here's an instance where, 3 makes a lot of sense, and you should just go in 3 here. So, capturing corner starters. Noobs love it, but that doesn't mean it's always terrible, just that noobs do it really badly. Often, for instance, following up with moves in 5, because that captures, and noobs love capturing. Good players move away from these moves, and they never come back, but I do think maybe they should consider coming back. It's a viable weapon if you think of it in terms of, I capture, and then I'm going to play in the corner, taking advantage of the directional weaknesses of my opponent, and fighting for the 5 square. I don't think it's a weapon that brings the second turn player a lot of wins. There were a few variations we've looked at over these videos where it was hard for red to find a tie, but most of the time it was blue struggling to find ties and red applying pressure with pretty straightforward moves. But it can be a safe path to a tie. We saw lots of times where blue had a nice plan. They had a move with a decent number facing towards 5, then they had another move to put next to it and taking advantage of red's directional weaknesses, and suddenly red had to be careful and blue had no trouble getting ties in those variations. So I think it can be a safe path to a tie. I'm going to look at cards from random hands next time, but I think it can often be a move where I hate my hand, I don't see a response I like to their starter, but I can kind of force the action by capturing and lead to a position where I have this plan, and I think I can probably get a tie. And another situation I think it's a viable weapon is if there's a rule set you think favors first turn, or you think your hand is a much better first turn hand, and you just want to survive this turn, or you're playing a stronger player and you just want to force action in a way where they don't have time to give you tricky positions. You can just play this forced line where they're going to recapture, you're going to play this follow-up, and you're going to reach a position you think you're comfortable in, rather than allowing a strong player the chance to make obscure and difficult to react to moves. So I don't think it's really a winning path if you're playing like a weaker player or you need to win this specific game. I think it's probably a bad option as a response to a corner starter. But if you are happy with a tie and you see a decent plan with it, I think it's a pretty good idea. And I should note, all my examples here were versus a hand that Red was playing, which was completely designed to recapture their starter and recapture the cards around it. That was the entire design of the hand. We were not beating a hand that played a corner starter and wasn't really prepared to do it. And yet, I think it shows that these capturing moves can be pretty viable and are worth considering, and seeing the pattern of them of kind of, they play in 1, I capture from 2, they recapture from 4, and then I go in 3, and suddenly they don't have that much up power, and I've set up so they don't have good plays in 5. Probably have a good situation. So I don't know. I hope you're kind of sold that capturing corner starters has some viability, maybe not a ton, but definitely some, and that it's a good thing to add to the repertoire of ideas. And yeah, so next time we'll move on to playing from randoms. So we'll see corner starters attempted by hands less prepared to play corner starters, but also our hands might be less balanced and might, the lines might work a little differently. For instance, in these lines, whenever we captured 1 from 2 and they recaptured from 4, 3 was always the better option because our opponent Red's hand was balanced, and thus when they recaptured from 4, they used up more horizontal power and had more vertical power left over. But of course, there are going to be lots of hands where when they recapture from 4, they actually still have more horizontal power or vertical power than horizontal power, and we should be looking at 7 rather than 3. And so there's going to be a little more variety in how we think, I think, from randoms. I haven't set up the examples yet. I haven't looked, but I think it'll be interesting to see how well these principles hold up, and whether the moves become better or not as good when we are looking at random hands rather than these setup hands. So, cheers.